Greetings. My name is Letitia Hensley, and I'm the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools Director of Family and Community Engagement. We are excited that you are joining us today and know you will gain great insight from this session. At the conclusion of today's session, please provide feedback so that we can continue to support you with amazing sessions that will be provided throughout the year. Now, without further ado, we'll turn it over to our presenters.
Good morning, CMS families. Thank you so much for joining us today for our final session of our virtual coffee and conversation series with Family Academy. We are excited to continue to engage in discussions around student assessments, instructional resources, and strategies to continue to support learning at home as we come to the end of our school year. Today, we will have supports on the call. If you are in need of translated supports, please utilize the captions feature on the top right-hand corner, select captions. Then you'll see a drop down that says show live captions. And from there, please select your language of need. This includes English if there is closed captioning needs as well. And we are excited to engage with you today. Please utilize the Q&A feature on your screen to ask any questions to our fabulous presenters who are going to be sharing information about resources and those assessment reports today. So any questions you have, please drop them and we'll ensure that they are answered during today's presentation. And please feel free to react and engage with us if there's any new learning, any aha, wow moments, or anything that you just are excited to hear. Please engage, use that react button, and share any emojis. And lastly, we want to hear from you. This is our last month for this school year for our raffle giveaway for feedback. So at the end of today's session, please share any thoughts that you may have to be entered to win the $100 Visa gift card. We've had some winners from all around the district, and we're excited to see who is going to be our May winner. And at this time, I'm going to invite our fabulous learning and teaching team to share more about some supports as we move into the summer months.
Thanks, Molly. Good morning. My name is Kendra Alston, one of the K-5 curriculum specialists, and my amazing coworker, Sarah Hessen, is also joining me today. You will get to hear from her in just a moment. We are so happy to be with you all today and to share some important information with you about how to read the Dibbles Assessment Parent Report, as well as sharing resources that you can use at home to support your child. So here is our agenda for today. We will first start out with an overview of the Dibbles assessment, and then we will move into how to read the Dibbles parent report, and then the resources to support at home for grades K through 5, and then I will be sharing some summer resources for you. Really exciting. I'm going to now turn it over to Sarah.
So as Kendra said, we're going to be sharing some information around Dibbles and some additional resources that can be sent home to support your students at home. So the who, what, when, why, and how of the Dibbles assessment, all those fun questions. So who takes the Dibbles assessment? It's going to be all kindergarten through 3rd grade students within CMS. Sometimes 4th and 5th grade students also get assessed with Dibbles just to track those early literacy skills, but it is required for kindergarten through 3rd grade students. So what is Dibbles? It stands for Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills. This is really just tracking and taking a look at risk indication. And what we mean by risk indication, it's just calling out to be able to say, giving us a notification that students may not be where they need to be with their early literacy skills by the time they're ending 3rd grade. So just kind of keeping that in mind as you're taking a look at their data. When is Dibbles assessed? We assess that 3 times a year. We have our beginning of the year dates, middle of the year dates, and then our upcoming, which is actually today. The window is opening. So we have our end of year date starting today through the 29th that teachers will be assessing students with Dibbles. And why do students take the Dibbles assessment? The assessment measures how well students are learning basic foundation foundational literacy skills. So this assessment, along with our curriculum assessments, are used to support us when deciding to determine what students need some more practice in and what resources we may need to use in the classroom or even at home to support them. And then lastly, how do students get assessed in DIBELS? The assessment is made up of a series of short tests that evaluate skills such as letters and sound recognition, decoding words or sounding out words, phonemic awareness, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. Next slide, please. Thank you, Molly. So talking and moving now that we know all the questions about DIBELS, and taking a look at the Home Connect letters. We have shared a little bit of information on this, but we just want to review it because it is that time of year that these should be coming home towards the end of the year. So what is the Home Connect letter? It's a report that gets generated after the DIBELS assessment is taken after each benchmark period. So there should be 3 of them that get sent home to you at each benchmark period. So the assessment or the Home Connect letter is going to give families information about how their student is performing on that assessment, but then also provide some additional resources or some ideas that you can use and do with your child at home. So again, those Home Connect letters, typically within 2 weeks after that DIBELS window ends is when that Home Connect letter should be coming home. And how will you receive those? Typically, the teacher will send that home. If you are not getting a copy of that, feel free to reach out to the teacher just to ask for it because they can print those out for you and send them home. And then those report languages are English and in Spanish. Next slide. Thanks, Molly. Sorry, I keep thinking about pointing and then smiling. So now we're going to dive into taking a look at the actual DIBELS Home Connect letter or the report for families so you can see what all is in this report because there are some really helpful information in it as it comes home. Next slide, please. So once you get this Home Connect letter, you'll notice, and Molly, if you just click a couple more times, those animations will pop up. Thanks so much. So once you get this Home Connect letter, you'll see a couple of different sections that it's broken into. That top section is just going to be an overview. It's going to give you the child's composite score, which is their overall score. It takes all of the different subtests and give an overall score for where your student is based on these early literacy skills. And it's also going to give you some information on why is this child being assessed and what does the assessment measure. And then if you look further down into the text, kind of where those green brackets are, these are going to be all the different skills that the student was assessed in and how they performed. So for example, one of the assessments is called letter naming fluency. You can see letter names listed there. You can see how the child scored in the red, which is the 38 letter sounds or the letter names, but you can also see where they need to be considered not at a risk indicator or showing as risking. Not having these early literacy skills mastered. Next slide, please. So moving further, or go ahead and click one more time, Molly, I'm sorry. Oh, we're just reviewing this again, I apologize. So this is just a continuation of kind of what we just covered on those last few slides of the information that's covered on the Home Connect letters that do get sent home for your child. And Molly, if you will click one more time for me, because we'll zoom in just specifically to the letter names or one of the assessments that I was speaking to. So on the last slide, we saw that that student was kind of in that red area. This child you can see is in the green, which is saying that they are at benchmark. So at benchmark is that green color. And then if you see the blue, that's going to be above benchmark. So above that benchmark expectation for this time of year. Next slide, please. This is just a closer look at the different assessments or subtests that students do get assessed on. Again, we have our letter names, phonemic awareness, decoding, and you can see kind of examples of what does decoding actually mean or what are students doing to decode. So for example, you can see some of the examples that are listed right below it in bold where it says sound out simple words like van. So students would be able to say v, van, being able to blend those sounds together. So that would be what that decoding assessment looks like. And again, you see your scoring off to the right side with those different colored bars. Next slide, please. Scrolling down further, or on the backside typically of this report, are going to be the different activities that can support students to become a better reader. So these activities are designed to help families support their reader at home with family-friendly ideas. So there's typically not a ton of materials that you have to take out or look at, but it'll just give you some more information of what you can do to practice some of these skills at home with your child. Next slide, please. And this slide, the link is at the top, but this is going to be an additional support to that Home Connect letter. This website is pretty helpful because it has some different online activities for students to do to work on, and you can see the different areas that will support each one of those subtests. So you have your phonological awareness, and you can see the activities that are listed below it. And once you click into it, it'll show you kind of the directions for that, what materials might be needed, but just to give you a general idea of what does phonics instruction look like, or what's an activity that I can do to support my child at home based on the data and how they performed on their DIBELS assessment. Next slide. And then lastly, we just want to share some additional practice that has been shared out before, but a lot of our schools are using this inside of the classroom, but these are also resources that you can request to be sent home to also work with your child. So with kindergarten, our nonsense word fluency, or being able to hear some of those correct letter sounds of sounding out some words, is going to be a huge support for kindergarten, first and second grade. And then our oral reading fluency, which is simply being able to blend those words and read fluently. So we created 3 different resources to support those different subtests or those different skills that students are being assessed on in DIBELS. The first one is that decodable reader. Each week during skills block, students are working with a decodable reader on a skill that they need practice with. And when I say skill, it's typically a spelling pattern. So for example, if I may be struggling with long A, I may have a decodable with a lot of different sounds that have the long A sound in it, so I can practice decoding and sounding out those words. There is an additional decodable reader that can be sent home for you to also practice this work with your child. The next 2 resources, the middle one in green is the phonics speed drill. These are used to practice fluency and reading fluently. So there's different words based on the student's data that they will get this list of words to read through, and they can kind of time themselves to see if they're improving with quickness with being able to read and decode as they're learning and practicing these skills a little bit quicker. And then the last one is the fluency passages, which are tied in with our module topics. So each quarter or each module, there are different topics that our students cover. And these are just some additional fluency practices that you could use at home for students to practice reading. And again, a timer is a great resource to have just to track that students are improving with that speed of reading, not reading too quickly, but also not too slowly, so they can get used to kind of reading automatic. And with that, I will pass things over to Kendra.
That was wonderful information, Sarah. Wow, great. Sometimes I have to be reminded of how much we have here in CMS for our families. Thank you for that. So now we're moving into the additional K-5 resources to support students at home. Summer resources at home are crucial for preventing learning loss during the summer break, maintaining or enhancing skills, and preparing students for the upcoming school year. CMS's Learning and Teaching Department has resources that will help combat the summer slide and ensure a smoother transition back into the classroom. These resources help support the standards tested on the MVPA, which is a predictive assessment that you will hear more about momentarily. Now, as far as kindergarten readiness, whether you are learning to ride a bike or starting an exercise routine, we all know that the beginning is the most important part of the work. So every spring, CMS elementary schools plan events to help transition children who will attend kindergarten next year. Smooth transitions to school make a difference to student outcomes, and these resources are right here and they're translated into the top 10 languages. So we first have a kindergarten beginner's day schedule. We also have a kindergarten readiness checklist. Thank you, Molly. We have an activity book for kindergartners, which will help our parents and at home supports give students something to work on that is aligned with what it is they need to know and be able to do in kindergarten. And then there's a handbook for parents. Can you imagine that? An actual handbook. I don't remember getting a handbook when my son was going to kindergarten, but we have a handbook for parents. And then there's a QR code that is takes you right to the CMS webpage where you can access the transition to kindergarten information. This next slide, these resources will help you and families support their children's learning in English language arts, math, and science, excuse me, by providing easy to use resources aligned with North Carolina state standards. And each standard includes what students learn, which is a simple explanation of the standard, because sometimes when we read it, it's like, what? So you will be happy to know that once you read the standard, it's like, oh, okay, it's very easy to read and easy to understand. It also includes how families can help. So these are easy activities to reinforce the learning. There are example questions. So there will be questions for practice, and then there will be practice resources, links to online lessons and activities that you can click right away and get your child involved in the online practices. This is very exciting as well, and we're full of excitement and full of gifts for you. The elementary summer packets include 20 days of literacy, math, science, and social studies, which is the nonfiction English class, right? Activities to prepare students for the upcoming school year. For example, the kindergarten students will engage in activities aligned to first grade concepts or skills. So we're prepping them for the upcoming year they're ready for. So you will be happy to know you don't have to go out and buy anything. Everything is right here for you and your child for in the summer learning packets. I mentioned earlier that you're going to hear more about the MVPA and how it connects to the learning resources that we have on our webpage. And I'm going to turn it over to Ryan so he can make that connection for you. Ryan?
Thank you, Kendra. So yes, this next part is all about understanding the report that's going to come home within the next few days, especially if you are an elementary or you have an elementary or middle school child. They should be receiving this coming home next week. And then, as Kendra has alluded to in the few other slides, there are these new resources that are provided to parents that align with the standards, so then you can help support your child at home with making sure that they have mastery of those standards. So this slide really quickly is just kind of an overview of what we do here in CMS, and you can see that we have several different assessments for several different purposes. But the one that we're going to specifically start talking about today is the benchmark assessment, or you might hear it also be referred to as the MBPA. Your child might come home and say, I'm taking the MBPA next week, what have you. The MBPA just stands for Mastery View Predictive Assessment, in which we get some predictive data of how well kids are going to do on the end of grade or end of course assessments that they take in third grade and above, as well as the standards mastery part of it, which will help you with taking this information and then going to the website that Kendra was talking about to then tie in those two pieces for extra support, just like you would do on the DIBELS that was discussed earlier by Sarah, and saying, here's the report, and then here are the resources. We have this same option now of being able to provide you with both of those. Go to the next slide, Molly. So this is just an overview of who takes the MBPA. It's given in grades 3 through 12. In high school, it just depends on what course you're in, because in high school, it's given for students in Math 1 and Math 3, and then Biology and English 2, whereas in third grade elementary school and middle school, it's given for the Math, Science, and Reading courses. Generally given 2 to 3 times, and that depends on the content. And then it's designed to measure how well students are learning and mastering their content standards within that year. And so the report that comes home is known as the individual student report, and it generally takes about 5 days after we will call close the assessment window. So it's not like you get the report after students take the assessment. They might take the assessment on a Tuesday, but the window might not close until the Friday. And then we don't actually receive this report until another few days after that. So generally speaking, there is a delay in getting this assessment because it is from an outside vendor. So that's just background information to help you understand when these reports are available for you to look at it with your child. And so it is a generated assessment that's on the predictive side. It gives you predictive information related to how well your child did on the assessment, as well as the individual areas. And then currently right now, it is only available in English, but we are being told that moving into next year, we will have the Spanish option as well. So that we're very excited to have going into next year. And so here's the report. And what I'm basically going to do is highlight each section. So as we click the button, you'll see a new section of the report appear. And then I'll just kind of describe what's on there. And then obviously, I know you're probably asking questions through chat. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and communicate and we'll try to answer them as best we can. So the top portion of it is really honed in around what grade level and subject area and which administration. So just like we talked about, some kids will take it 2 to 3 times a year. The one they've just taken is the last one they're going to take. So it'll probably say final administration. And then obviously whatever grade level your child is in, 3rd grade, and then it'll say reading next to that, or 3rd grade and math next to that. Moving further down, the second section just has the school information, basically the name of the student, the name of the teacher, the school name. And then to the right of that, it kind of gives an overview of the numbers that you will see throughout the rest of the report. Meaning, if you see a 2 is indicating that the child is projected at a non-proficient level on that particular area. It may be a 2 for overall for the entire assessment, or you might just see a 2 for any specific area within the assessment, which just means the child is not scoring high enough to be proficient in that one area. 3 is categorized as grade level proficient. 4 and 5 are what we call college and career ready, with 4 being they have a solid command and 5 being they have superior command. And so now we'll move down to the bottom portion of the report. The first part, or the first number that you will see, known as the achievement data, that is for the entire assessment. So this child in this particular report, you can see is a 5-. So in total, they're projecting that this child will score a 5 going into the EOG and or EOC. Below that, it's broken down into the different areas that were assessed. So now very specific to what Kendra had just mentioned with the resources, they're providing the resources to you in a way that lines up with this. So if I look over here and says NF1, which basically stands for numbers and fractions, I see that the child is scoring at a projected 5, so the child has superior command. But as I scroll down on that list, I see OA4, which stands for Operations and Algebraic Thinking. It gives me a small description. It says factor pairs, and then it says achievement level, a 2. And so that would be an indication for me to say, okay, my child on this assessment did not score very well in that one area. How can I best support them? Well, that's when you would go back to the resources that were being provided by Learning and Teaching that Kendra mentioned, that have been just been made available within the last few weeks to then support and do additional work around that particular area. So that's how you would start to use this particular report and support. And then if you look to the right of this, we get more information, meaning this information is related to what we call depths of knowledge. And that's an area where just understanding how questions are being asked to your child on this assessment, meaning depth of knowledge level 1 is what we call basic recall. So if a child has to know their multiplication facts, a very simple depth of knowledge level 1 might say something like, what is the product of 4 times 12? And so that's a basic recall type question since they know their multiplication facts at this point, they're supposed to be able to recall that and answer a specific question like that. And generally on any assessment in third grade going up, there's only about 20% of the assessment roughly in that area that's related to depth of knowledge level 1 type questions. Depth of knowledge level 2 is going to ask them to apply any type of learning that they already have. So now at depth of knowledge level 2, it might be taking that same concept of 4 times 12, but now it's putting it in some type of word problem where they're going to have to apply the skill to that, where it might say, there was a total of 64 students who were playing in a soccer game, and each of the teams were divided into 12 students each. Well, how many teams were developed? So you can see they're still trying to do that concept of multiplication and division, but yet now they have to apply it to that particular scenario. And generally speaking, in most assessments, there's about 60 to 70% of the end of grade assessments that are using depth of knowledge level 2 type questions. And then depth of knowledge level 3 type questions are definitely where a student has to do some kind of planning and higher cognitive reasoning in order to answer those types of questions. So they definitely have multiple parts to it that will require more than just going in and trying to solve right away. They usually have to have some kind of plan of action that they attend to when doing those types of questions. And then the last part of this report just kind of highlights, well, how many questions did the child have to answer in order to score proficient? That is the middle row. Then the top row is how many did the child actually answer correctly? And then the bottom one is just the difference between the two, meaning if I had to score 13 to be a proficient or a level 3, I scored 18, and that means I was 5 above what I had to score for this particular assessment. And so that takes care of the report that's coming home. And then I would just say, if you have any questions, always please reach out, and we'll try to help make sure that you understand the report, and then can also use the resources that have been provided in this slide deck and that are also on our website right now. Thank you, Molly. I'm going to now turn it over to Shantilia. We'll talk about iReady.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully I stay on. I've been getting kicked out of technology this morning. So I am Shantilia Guy, Director of MTSS, and I am just going to share with you a little bit about some supports for you at home with iReady, and also understanding the reports that you receive. So just wanted to bring your attention to our iReady assessment windows, and understanding that it's administered to our grades K through 8 as the universal screener 3 times a year. We did our BOY in September, October, MOY in January, February, and we're currently in our EOY window April and May. And so our assessment window actually closes on May 22nd. So you'll have access to your students' reports when they are completed with their assessments. And so we have talked about that as far as you're going inside of your student's platform and accessing your parent report from there. On our next slide is our sample report here. And so this will actually give you 3 bars this year. So I tried to find an example that actually showed you that, so you'll really be able to see a true picture of your student's report when they finish their assessment for EOY. There are blue bars, of course, on the graph, help to support where your student actually performed. So this will give you a chance to see how they did at BOY, MOY, and EOY. And the hope is that they have improved each time they've taken the assessment. In the green shaded area is actually where they should be as far as the grade level they're in. So it starts as their corresponding grade level placement. And so then you can see where they perform in each of the assessments from there. So hopefully from BOY to EOY, we can start to see that our students are in the green. That means they're on grade level. But as they continue to grow, we hope to see that there's more of that stretch growth, meaning that they have actually done exceeding based off whatever they started at the beginning of the year. And so the code is there if you have not had an opportunity to use that to go into your students' logins to get your actual parent report inside of theirs. There is nothing separate that is for parents. On our next slide, one of the things that I wanted to bring your attention to is the domain. So this has been something that's there for you on your report. And Molly, if you will click on the attachment that is listed there, just giving you an understanding of what those domains are. So it gives you the domains for our mathematics. And then if you scroll down, you'll see the ones that are there for reading. So when it's telling you that your child is performing, whether needs improvements or past the grade level, on grade level, this will let you know in those particular domains, specifically that was assessed for them, if it was assessed, how well they did. So that way you can understand what was tested specifically in those areas. So that's a good report to help. And this also helps with the other reports that you have heard when it came to our DIBELS, as well as with our MVPA. So this gives you an idea of how all of this data connects together in support of the specific areas that are being tested with your child to see how they're performing across different assessments in that area. On our next slide is really some key things that we want you to do. So you have all those parent reports that have been shared with you with the Home Connect for Families, the individual student report from MBPAs, and then now you have your iReady for Families parent report that you should have. Looking closely at your at-home support resources that are provided. So we have activities for our at-home with our DIBELS, and then with our MyPath activities in our iReady platform, you'll be working on those domains in which students needed improvement. So basically, however your student performed, this gives your child a chance to work in those areas to start to meet and close those gaps. And then the next thing you have is the K-12 resources document that our learning and teaching team has talked about, because they've done a correlation of our iReady, MVPA data, and DIBELS data together to kind of help support some work that you can do there. So that is what will be IDEA, is bringing all of this together, because we know we have so much amazing data, but helping you to see how all of that connects to helping our child at home. And then lastly, one of the things that I did want to make sure that everyone was aware of, so students who are participating in summer programs, of course, will be utilizing some of the iReady instructional resources to connect with their summer programs. But also, it will be available to students to have access through July 31st. At that time, to continue to work on their paths, because it will have teacher-assigned things in there for them from the summer, as well as any instructional paths that they need to continue to close with gaps. So you will have access through July. And then, of course, we will close it out so that we'll be able to get everything ready and rostered for our new school year for 25-26. And that is all I have for you guys today. At any time, you are welcome to reach out to our team. And we're excited if you even reach out to Family Engagement Department. They will share any questions that you have, and we'll be happy to get back to you with any answers we can help you with. So thank you all so much.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and a special thank you to our amazing presenters who have done such a great job breaking down these dense reports and providing those easy to navigate resources to continue to support learning at home. So special thank you to Kendra and Sarah from our learning and teaching team, to Ryan from our student data and information team, and to Shantilia Guy from our MTSS team. Families, right now we do not have any questions in the Q&A, but we hope to hear from you. So if you would please submit any questions you may have lingering through the feedback form, we'll ensure that you get follow up and answer. As a reminder, it is the last month for our raffle giveaway this year. So please submit any feedback you have to be entered to win. We hope that you guys have a fabulous and successful end of your 24-25 school year, a safe and great summer, and we hope that you're able to engage with us with any of our final Family Academy opportunities this year. Have a terrific Thursday, and we'll see you soon.